Hello everybody, welcome to Whittle Footy Talk. Welcome to the channel. This is brand new, very first episode. And we've got a very special guest on, a friend of mine, dear friend of mine, Danny Holmes. And we're a legend, not just through Tranmere, playing for Tranmere and making it through, all the way through the system, but also through his coaching as well and what he does on the Whittle. So, Danny, welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to be here and feel really privileged to be your first guest.
I'm absolutely made up. You come on today, mate, as our first guest, obviously because I know you, so I'll have some good questions for you because I want to ask questions that no one else asks.
Yeah.
Okay? Won't go too deep, but we'll have a little bit of a laugh as well, mate.
I'm willing to go deep as you're on, so it should be.
Okay, mate, so we'll start off, where did it all start?
Well, basically, as you know, I've got two older brothers and my dad used to play football as well, so it was in the family from a young age, and I used to go and watch and maybe pick up little things, and it started from a young age then, so I used to obviously get out with our Tommy and Jamie, play on the streets with all older lads as well, because we had quite a lot of kids in our region at the time who were bang into the footy, so it started at a young age, basically going to watch my two older brothers, which was great for me. And
your dad was a good player as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. When I used to go, my first memory of my dad playing football was like he used to work in cereal partners up in Branbury, and he used to have a tournament every summer, and obviously our Donald used to who was a great footballer himself, used to they had the team together, and it was some of the most ruthless footy I've ever seen in my life. I forgot what they used to do. It was like a 5-a-side competition, but it used to be pull tops, elbows, you know the way Woody lads tend to play anyway. So it was a bit of a ground like watching them two in action.
So when you played on a wood church, did you play like street v street, just in the streets and for the school? Then it started at the school, obviously.
Yeah, well, obviously you're from the wood church, Jason. It's a massive estate and everyone loves the football, so I was based on at the bottom of my home farm. So we used to play against Ackers Road, New Hay Road, Carbridge Road. So
street games, yeah.
Street games. That's all we, because obviously kids don't tend to do that now, but all we ever done was play out and hide and seek, all that malarkey. But to be fair, the wood church got quite a lot of grass in front of the houses.
Yeah, I was going to say that because if people don't know the wood church, if they're all from different areas of the Whittle, you haven't been through it much. There's massive grass verges where lots of space, put goals up. You know, we can.
Yeah, because it used to be obviously whenever the workies used to be, doing work on the roads or whatever, we used to rob the cones and they used to be our goal, and that's just the way it was. When he just used to jumpers for goalposts, stuff like that. But on the front of where my mum and dad still live, as you know, there's loads of grass in the front, so that was basically our pitch. So everyone used to tend to come to us because we had like the bigger patch of grass. Yeah. So it was obviously great, and that's even when you see people on the estate now, you still tend to talk about those old memories.
So what school did you go to then?
Well, I lived opposite St Michael's and All Angels, so that's where we went, and because my mum's side of the family are Catholic, so that's why we went into that school. But we went to St Michael's and ended up going into Woodchurch.
Did St Michael's have a team though? Did they have?
Yeah. To be fair, there was a lot of great kids on the estate, and we had a really good team. I don't know whether JP Lewis was in my year, and Sean Aspinall, he was a great player at that time. So we had a really good team, and it was a competition that Tranmere always used to put on, and then you could go into like a national tournament, which then you could play at Wembley. I think it was one of the finals, like a half time or something. And we managed to get to the last stage, which was I think it was Blackburn's Academy, and we were just unfortunate to get beaten in the final then to go on to Wembley. But I remember our Ben doing the same, and I'm sure he got to, don't know whether it was Cardiff Stadium, when the FA Cups and all that on. But he managed to get there with like Danny Povell, Mark Beach and all them, and they managed to go that step further with Woodchurch TV.
Was there any influences, any teachers or any coaching going on or anything like that?
To be honest, our school team, our Tommy, took it. I don't know how he managed to do that. I think it was him and Gary Rafferty honestly took our team, I think the caretaker was probably couldn't really control us, to be honest with you. We wasn't naughty, it was just, we were that involved in footy and that passionate about it. It was like, he didn't know nothing about football, so I think my dad obviously volunteered that on me and Rafa.
Was your dad a big influence on you through school and then as you were getting older?
Yeah, he's a massive influence. He was one of them, when after the game, if you didn't play well, I think it's...
He wouldn't speak to you in the car?
No, it was the opposite.
Did he, yeah?
It was like a little thing with me that he didn't, like, back in the day, it was just the dads that took the kids to the footy, where now it's more, maybe the mums are more involved in the football journey, but they used to go to, say he went to Tranmere or for the school, whatever, and he didn't used to say anything when he was on the side, but he used to do this whistle. So if I made a mistake, this whistle would, I could hear it from anywhere, you know, like one of them.
Yeah.
So I can't do that, but yeah, so I was like, oh, my dad's gonna pull me up on that sort of thing.
You know, when you go into the car.
Yeah, so it was, he never used to hammer me, but he just used to obviously point stuff out, and to be fair, the only time he did hammer me, which wasn't often, was if I tossed it off, basically.
Yeah.
And that didn't used to happen that much, so I think he knew from a young age I was quite clued on, and I wanted it, really, so he wasn't too bad for me, really. So
what were you thinking when you were in primary school? Were you thinking, I want to be a professional footballer? Did you have that in your head then?
Well, apparently when I was 7, my mum said I wasn't interested. I used to just watch the kids play on the side and stuff like that. I remember my first ever game, I think, well, it was for Heswell, and I scored 9 goals in my first game, because I was an attacker when I first started, which I don't think many people know about, because they just obviously assume I was a defender from a young age. But yeah, my mum said I wasn't interested. I just turned it on when I wanted to, basically. And then I remember getting to like 10, because I had a bit of potential. I was quite big for my age at the time, and I scored quite a few goals, and so Tranmere obviously made me train, and I came up to 10. So
were you with any teams before? Did you get scouted by Tranmere?
Yeah, it was Glenn Salmon, that, because he sort of knew of my dad, and obviously the past history with our Tommy and Jamie, they sort of half look at you, don't they, to see what you're about. So that's how I got into it. But so
what team were you in when you got scouted?
I think it was Shafts then.
Shafts.
So from Heswell, I wasn't there long. I went to Shafts straight away, because I played a year up, basically straight away. And then from there I went to Fender with my mates, because obviously, like I said before, it's like a big contingency from the Woodchurch and really talented team, so I ended up playing for Fender then. And then when you get, at that time you could play for your Sunday league team, as well as like an academy team. Where now it's just from 6-7, it's just academy. Where then you could still, I think, which was great, you could still play with your mates.
So with you doing that, what's your thoughts on that? Would you still...
I would implement that still.
Would you?
Yeah. Even though I know the situation with football now, and you try and get kids from a young age and stuff like that, but when you're looking at football now for young kids, like on the mental side, because they've been in that system for... Because I wasn't in that system from, say, 6.
Yeah.
I sort of got into it at 11, because I was still playing with my mates. But with my mates as well, which I agree with, it was quite competitive. You're in a league system and you could win trophies, and where the academy system was just basically you're turning up, playing in a game, that's it, it's done with, it's like a friendly.
But I think with academies, what they worry about is the conflicting messages off like coaches and picking up bad habits. But what you're saying is you keep the enjoyment side of it.
I think the competitive side of football is where you get the enjoyment. At the end of the day, say now, obviously I'm the wrong side of 30 now, and the stuff I remember is, even going back to my school days, it was like winning the World Cup. It was winning trophies, like, at the end of the day. So I think the most enjoyable part of football is being competitive and wanting to win and winning stuff. So
totally agree with that.
Yeah. But I know what you're saying and stuff like that, but it's a fine balance and act, isn't it? I know there's such young kids and stuff like that.
Do you think that give you a good basis then?
Yeah.
Mentally tough to go on and do what you've done throughout the academy?
Yeah, because say if you got beat, which at that time was very rare because we had such good teams at a young age, it was a setback. So you used to obviously get really upset. Back in the day, you used to cry your eyes out when you were a kid, when you got beat. You see it at EPD now when you have a masterclass and you get beat in the semi of a little tournament.
We have a few tears in the finals and stuff like that.
That's the stuff you remember,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm exactly the same. I don't remember like a friendly against Stockport for Tranmere when I was under 14. I remember like a cup final for my school because that's the only time I had competition was mainly with the school, unless I was with my Sunday league team at that younger age.
All right. Who was your favourite player around that time? Did you have a favourite player that you looked at and you thought?
It tended to be a hard one. Like it was like Clint Hill and George Santos, who at the time were like Clint Hill used to fly out with both feet and try and block shots, and I don't know whether you've come across George Santos. Used this big.
I remember Santos, yeah.
The most vivid memory of him, because I used to obviously buzz off him, was that Sunderland had the cop at Tranmere in this game, and because our Tom and Jamie they used to get free tickets, used to go all the time, and the ball went out of play, and the Sunderland fans were giving him dogs abuse, like, and it was, obviously at that point the ball's gone out of play, and he just ran up and he absolutely drilled a shot right into this fan's face, which now you'd get battered for it, you know what I mean, but at that point he was getting that much abuse, and I was obviously a young kid, and I was jumping up.
Have you tried that in the past and missed?
It's not that many fans that come with you. But it was like literally Sunderland at the whole of the Cop, and obviously Tranmere in the Championship at that time, so it was bigger crowds. But yeah.
So you're in high school then, aren't you? You're going into high school and you're with Tranmere Academy, because you, Tommy and Jamie, did they go to Benedict's?
Yeah,
and then you went to Woody.
Yeah, I went to Woody. Yeah.
And you went to Woody.
So, because I used to basically want to be a carbon copy of our Tommy and Jamie when I was, obviously I don't know. I know what they're like. But at that time, I used to want to do everything that they wanted to do, so I wanted to go to St. Benedict's, and that was like, I think he sort of cottoned on that it was going to close down. But I was like, because I sort of knew the PE teacher and all that, because I loved PE. I was like, oh, I want to go to Benedict's, but I was like, you know, going there, sort of thing, and or basically all my mates, from primary school into high school, we all were in the same form. So, which is quite rare when you go to high school, you usually get all split up, but we then went into high school and went up, literally from nursery to high school, I was with the same group of mates,
that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, but even, it was like one of them, like with those mates at the time, if I see them now, I'm obviously still pal with them, but they were into like different stuff that I was into. I was like more committed, and obviously I knew what I wanted to do, where they were maybe... So
when you went into high school and you made the first year from primary to high school, what age did you go actually into the academy? What age did you start? So that's about 12?
Year 6, under 11 it is.
Yeah, under 11.
Where you fully commit to it. So from year 6 then going into high school.
So from high school starting with Tranmere and you're going through high school. So you had a decent high school team as well?
Yeah, we had a great high school team. We were in the national.
I remember you won. Yeah, did you win that or get to the final?
Yeah, we got to the semi.
Got to the semi, yeah. I remember the big one.
It was a great story, to be fair, because in the National Cup you could go, we played against a Newcastle school who Andy Carroll played for them, and I was centre back, so I played against him, had a great game. And to be fair, Newcastle...
Was he big then? Was he a big unit?
Yeah, lad, like. And then, to be fair, the Newcastle scout rang our high school and he wanted me to basically go up there from...
Yeah.
Because he was obviously there.
Yeah.
Because I think we won 3-0 on the day. And he wanted me to basically go there. But I think because I was with Tranmere, because they had high hopes for me, my dad sort of like... I think because the experiences our Tommy and Jamie had, he sort of... Our Jamie went to Liverpool and he hated it, apparently. I don't know whether he ever knew about it, that he was at Liverpool, but...
I do remember it, yeah.
He absolutely hated it, and he didn't want to be there. I think he just wanted to go to Tranmere because our Tommy was there. But yeah, so my dad was... I think that was in the back of his mind for me, maybe go elsewhere and try something different. Yeah. But because obviously Tranmere sort of had high hopes for me, he was like, he's got a pathway there to potentially get into the first team. So, but with our school team in the National Cup, we had the semi-final in Brighton, so for us it was like our first ever... It was like being a pro footballer, you travel down the day before.
Big occasion,
stay in a hotel, but we were just a bunch of lads off the woody. So I was the only one who got any sleep.
There must have been mischief in that.
When I think of it now, it was one big like hostel room. And there was like 18 of us in one room. So you know what lads are like, they're away from the parents and all that. It was absolute carnage. I was the only one who got any sleep. Honestly, during the night I was going off my head because I was thinking the final's going to be at Anfield.
I want to get there.
Yeah. Where they're like, oh, we've got no worries. We can do whatever we want for the night. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like, it's really frustrating. We could have, like I said, we could have played at Anfield, which, you know, memory some of us will never ever get. So even to this day, I'll still bring it, if I ever see them, it's one of the things I'll always bring up.
Is that cup still played at Anfield now?
It depends where, because the other team that were in the final was a Liverpool team.
Yeah.
So, say if it was
so like, keep it low. Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
So say if it was like the Newcastle team, they would probably put maybe at Carlisle, you know, I don't know, somewhere in that region where it's in between.
So you're playing with good players in school, aren't you? And then you'd obviously started with Tranmere. And you said before that Glyn Salmon seen you play, and Glyn obviously gave you a chance with Tranmere.
Yeah.
So you go in there under 11s, Tranmere's academy. What was that like going in?
Yeah, it was brilliant. We had, like I said, we had a good team from the get-go, and most of the team that we were with, it wasn't like a big transition every year where it might be like that with academies now. You sort of knew you were going to have the same team every year. Maybe someone may unfortunately got released and you do add someone else in. But yeah, it was like, you're like a band of brothers sort of thing, and you used to play against some great academies. And because back then as well, it wasn't like, where now everyone's sort of, it's like Cat 1, Cat 2 and all that. It wasn't really like that. It was literally the top level academies and then like a centre of excellence, and we were in the centre of excellence bracket. Yeah. But we still got to play like United, Liverpool and stuff like that. It wasn't like in our fixture list though, it was like, you know...
so it wasn't in the fixtures, but you'd usually played them throughout the season and stuff like that.
It was like it would be thrown in like every other month or whatever, but we used to beat all of them.
So when you joined at 11, how many people actually went through to right the way through, would you?
Up into YT or Pro?
Right, so up to the Pro or YT?
No one, was only me.
No, just you?
Yeah. We obviously they made it to YT.
Yeah.
But then, other than Craig Curran joined when he was under 16 now. He wasn't like from under 11.
He wasn't from the very start, that's what I was saying, on your journey there.
Yeah, it was only...
Who went, So when did they start getting cut off, like 14, 15, 16?
It was about 6 of us that made obviously to YT, because what they do, the YT, they look who's coming, not the year below, the year below that. Yeah. So then you gauge it each year then, so obviously you've got that team as a youth team. So it was 6 of us that, I think it was 6 of us, 6 or 7 of us that made it into the youth team, and then I was the only one then.
You start with these lads at 11 and you're going through and people are getting released, and so what are you thinking mentally in your head then? Are you thinking, I'm going to make a YT first and foremost, I want to make a YT?
Yeah, because that's the first target.
But you're seeing people going as well, and are you on edge? Are you ever thinking,
No, to be honest, I'm not really a nervous person. I always knew I was good enough. So I just thought it was a matter of time before.
I would just ask because it's very cutthroat, isn't it? Like everyone loves football. It's a beautiful game, but it can be cutthroat as well. And there might be some margins that you just didn't make, and you went, not for us. We've got this lad coming in.
Do you know what it might have been? Because to be fair, most of our team were Scousers, and even as youth team players, they used to like to drink. Some of them, where I think I didn't. I'm not lightweight anyway. But my first drink was like 19, 20. Yeah. So, because I was that committed to being a football player, I sort of just jibbed it off. And even like going out with my mates on a Friday, Saturday and stuff like that, I used to go home early, where they obviously stay out till 11 or midnight or whatever. But it's like you said, football is ruthless, isn't it?
So you've gone 12s, 14s, 16s all the way up. Yeah. Then you get to the YTS. So when you're in the YTS then, what league are you in then?
It's like an alliance. That's the first competitive league that you're in. Well, it was like when I was like 15, I was like playing in reserves, and even on like...
At 15?
Yeah. My first game was against Hull, I was 15, and John McMahon was the reserve team manager at the time, and I came on, so it didn't start that game. I came on and he had like he had some really good players. It's like Ben Burgess at the time, big unit of a striker. So I played right back that game because obviously I'm not massive anyway, but I've tended to shift over to right back when I've been a young lad playing the year up.
So you were playing right back then?
I was always a centre back, but because I was smaller than everyone and I could play a number of positions, he just naturally put me on there. Yeah. Because that was like my first experience.
Did you adapt well or?
Yeah, I felt comfortable. Like I felt comfortable wherever. Because like I think that's like I spoke about it with someone the other week that I think that's just playing on the street.
Yeah.
Literally on the street, you literally go anywhere and you deal with the ball in certain situations, and you know you might be say that little grass pitch that we had. Say if I was closer to the road, and you had to shift with my left foot or whatever. So like I said, I was comfortable playing. It didn't matter what position I was playing. I was comfortable and knew that I could perform on that day.
But that's still young though, 15. So what, like body wise, were you okay? Like,
yeah, I was always quite thick set.
Yeah.
I've always been like, quite muscular for the age at that time.
There's a bit of a difference, isn't it?
Yeah, it was just the height.
Just the height.
Yeah, it was the height at that time. I think I don't know. It must have been. I'm not massive anyway, but I think I was like 5'9", 5'10". But I was thick set.
And you got stuck in.
Exactly. Yeah,
so it was okay.
I literally didn't care at that point. So even I was training with the first team on every school holiday. So
even when you were a YT and you were 15 and you were doing...
That was before YT, yeah.
Yeah, and then you were doing things with the first... So when you got to YT, you weren't doing bits with the first team already?
Before that was...
Before that? Yeah. So how old...
At 15.
At 15?
Yeah, I was training with the first team. So that was...
So how did you find that?
I didn't care.
You just didn't care?
I loved it, because when I was coming through, I always wanted to play with the older age group.
Yeah.
Where kids these days, they're reluctant to go up. And
well, that could help you on the streets as well, because if you're playing with your Tommy or Jamie or even older lads, you're playing against bigger lads. Yeah.
So where I lived, everyone was older than me, so I had no other option.
It was the norm.
Yeah. So
it was the norm.
So I used to when I'm training with the first team, I'd like not shout at them, you know what I mean, but I'd like.
You wasn't
direct
shy.
Someone.
You wasn't shy.
I was giving information, you know what I mean? And I was only obviously a young kid, flying to tackles, because that's what I loved to do at that age as well. I sort of stay on my feet a little bit. But at that age, it was like, even if it was a 70-30 tackle, 70 in their favour, I'd still...
I think that's just something to keep going on about, though. That's remarkable, from 15 going training with the first team.
Not many people.
Because you're not even an established YT then, are you?
At that point, Brian Little was the manager, and then as I've...
So was it Brian Little giving you that chance?
Brian Little. So I always say it now, it's like, obviously it's about timing in football, I believe in that massively, but at 15, I think round about 16, I reckon, if Brian Little was still the manager, I would have played for the first team at some point, even if it was a sub or whatever. But then obviously Ronnie Moore came in then. So as the transition of Brian Little with Ronnie Moore coming in was when I got me YT. So then when I went in, I most probably maybe trained with the first team all the time. I sort of got, not set back, because that's the pathway.
But you just stayed with the YT.
I was with the YT then.
Where you were ahead, you just went back just that
to level with everyone
where
else.
You should have been.
So I was obviously... I'm not a bad egg, but obviously within myself I was pissed off, because I was a young kid, maybe thinking, I was a little bit...
Did anyone explain that to you?
No, it's just like, it never
cut
happened.
Off.
Never happened. Yeah. Because it's a change of manager, it's this opinion where maybe now, players most probably go, I'm not that type, I wouldn't, rock the boat or anything like that, but where maybe now, I most probably would have kicked up a little bit more for Fuss if I was a different age. Yeah. Where at that time, he was the manager.
And you take it on the chin.
Yeah.
Take it on the chin.
Even to me dad, I was like, I was only like just turned 16 or whatever, and I was like, not having this. To my dad, but he's like, you can't say nothing.
You can't go marching in,
But at that age, I was like...
Your dad must have been thinking, though, at the same time, go ahead, son, I'm made up, you're thinking like that, you'd haven't crumbled.
Exactly,
do you know what I mean? So,
but even though it wasn't a bad thing in a way, because I was still a YT, got to be YT, in my head I was like, I would have played with the first team by now.
So
I was a bit disappointed. Like,
you're in the white tees, you're under John McMahon still?
no, it was Sean Garner's first job.
Sean Garner's first job.
Yeah.
So was Sean, and was he an influence then? Did he, you know, keep you level-headed, want you to tell you you've got a chance of getting to the first team?
Yeah, he was, to be fair, we used to do, like, after every game, he'd do a report, and I've always been quite a consistent player anyway, and he was always great, always game. He was a defender himself, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And obviously, because it was fresh for him, I think, you know, he really took on the role well, and he really helped me, you know, push on even further with, like, little things on how to be a defender, because he was a defender back in the day where, you know, just using your body and stuff like that, and being a bit more cute, and where maybe when I was a younger defender, because I sort of transitioned into a defender. I wasn't like an out defender at that time, so I was still sort of like learning how to do the role properly. Yeah. So it was, and even Gareth Roberts, who was the first, because I trained with the first team, he always used to give me like tips and stuff like that. So and obviously you've met guys.
So where you were where were you training then? Were you all up
well, at Raby.
At Raby.
Yeah. But at that time Ingleborough was still there, so that got used
as well.
Yeah. But
so when you went in the morning, you'd have the first team and you just go on different pitches.
Used to get changed in the back of the cock, so you'd all go there.
And then get minibused up.
Yeah, minibused up. So there was a first team changing room and a youth team changing room. So obviously you wanted to move into the first team changing room because it shows that you'll...
Did you have to clean boots, anything like that? Yeah.
Clean loads of boots. I've done Chris Greeny, who was my best one. He used to get a Christmas tip.
I was going to say, you give you the good Christmas tip.
Yeah, so he was the best. And he used to live up in just past the Cherry Orchard, up at, you know, Fingal way.
Yeah.
So on his way through, he used to be fair to him, he used to pick me up and everything, and he gave me a great tip, got me a pair of boots. I'm banging to clean me boots and all that anyway, so I used to love doing it. But some of the lads absolutely hated it. Like, but yeah, I used to do it for the Christmas tip, to be honest, because the wages at that time were...
You couldn't see it now, could you?
No, exactly. No, I can't. It feels like it was 30 years ago, but it's not that long ago.
It's not that long ago.
Just over 10 years, and it's like how much has changed in that time within football, and even the way younger kids behave and stuff like that.
Did that give you good values for being a pro? Having that though, you'd say that really taught you the lesson. You
massively, yeah. It was like even at Christmas time as well. I used to sing for the first team, and that was most probably the most daunting thing you could ever do. But it was like,
what did you sing? Come on, you got to tell us.
Because it was when James Blunt sort of burst onto the scene a little bit.
I was not giving it a bit, I'm beautiful.
No, it wasn't that one. It was Goodbye My Lover, and it's proper morbid, like. But it was the only song I knew all the words to, so I was like, you know, when I think about it now, like being a pro and seeing people sing for me, I was like, why didn't they pick like an upbeat song, you know, where everyone knew the words to?
Anyone could have joined in or
something. Exactly, yeah.
So everyone's just sitting there like that.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know whether, because at the end of it, you got pied in your face if you're rubbish or you're nervous or anything like that. So I wasn't nervous, like standing up there, but obviously singing, you're like, you know, remembering the words and stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't get pied at the end, so I must have...
Oh, you didn't get pied, you done alright.
Yeah. But some of the lads used to be, honestly, the nerves that you used to see with kids, like singing and that, used to be... Obviously, when I became pro, I used to like heckle them a little bit, you know, to just test them. But yeah, we used to you had to clean the change rooms, clean boots, sing for them.
I think that keeps your feet on the ground though, doesn't it? And it keeps you humble, it keeps you...
I'm a massive believer. Even now, I think it still should happen over the whole country, but it doesn't happen now.
So, here's a quick question then. Did you have an agent then?
I when you're 16, you can have an agent. I had a couple at the time that were really interested in taking me. And there was it's like a big agency now called Stella Group, they're called. So the main fella at that time was Dave Lockwood. I think he lives on the Wirral. He's like looked after Jason Kumas, those type of players. So that obviously at that time, this was even me and my dad or our family's first experience with a proper agent, like. And because he was local, he had Jace stuff like that. You sort of like, you sell the dream to you, but at that point, that's when Brian Little was there. So it was like, he must have cottoned on that I was doing really well and potentially move on. But I was with him first, and then because it sort of, maybe stagnated a bit, stayed with the youth team. Ronnie Moore maybe wasn't having me at that point, which obviously that was his opinion at the time. I sort of got switched on to another agent within their Stella group, and it was sort of like, not really bothered about you then. Do you know what I mean? You got your boots or whatever, but that's another world.
It's not the same as now.
Nah. Now they do anything for you, but if you're not getting interest in you, they wouldn't even contact you or nothing, they wouldn't even talk to you. Where now, maybe some agents, you sort of become best mates, don't you, with the players, some agents, which is great, I feel. Obviously, there's still some agents that would do what happened to me.
You must see it in the game, though, is there a lot of agents who are just in it for themselves, or do they have the player as an actual, I really care about him, I want him to do well, instead of selling him just for the dream?
It's more, because they were a big, massive agency, they've got like Gareth Bale and all that, that's how big they are. So, if they can get that extra little bit of, they've got so many agents, if they get that extra little bit of money that goes towards their group, so to speak, they'll just do it. Yeah. Where like, I think the better agents that are out there are the ones that've got a smaller circle, and they help guide them, not just in football.
And they're investing in the person as well. Yeah.
I think it's like, even us as coaches, that's what you do it for.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I know they might get a financial boost maybe further down the line, but they know they've been there since the very start and they've helped them grow. You know what I mean? So I think it's understandable then that.
It's a good point, actually. It's a good point.
Yeah.
So you're in the YT.
Yeah.
So you're with Sean Garnett. Yeah. And then obviously the next step is the first team. So who influenced you to get in the first team? Because you had other coaches there as well around. So you'd have Warwick Rimmer.
Yeah.
You'd have
John
McMahon.
Yeah.
Glenn Salmon.
Yeah, Glenn Salmon, yeah.
Glenn Salmon. All class people, by the way, who I've come across myself.
Yeah.
Glenn, amazing coach, amazing person. Then obviously Warwick's just in a different bracket because everyone is. I used to think when we worked at Tranmere, what's this big stigma about Warwick Rimmer?
Yeah.
And then he just come in and helped me coach one day, and I just thought, no, just popped in, started helping, and I'm just listening to him and looking at him and how experienced he was, and I was like, and you think you're not bad, and then you see someone like that and you go, wow. Yeah. But it wasn't just about being his coaching, it was the person as well. Yeah,
that's what I was going to point on. It's like, the way he could relate to you as a person, you forgot he was a coach then.
Yeah.
He was like, he used to walk down the corridor on his hands, he used to get back up, he was purple doing handstands down the corridor. But got another great story of Warwick as well. I was when I was a YT and I was injured at the time, so I didn't travel with the minibus early. I met Warwick to then travel with him to the game. I think it was in Oldham, and so I've met him at the ground underneath the cop where he used to walk through, but it was pitch black. It was still like because you used to kick off early as a YT, and getting into the cop there's like a shutter, so it was like, it wasn't fully closed, it was like basically perfect on his head there. Because the lights were off, he's walked thinking the shutter was up to then push the door. He smashed his head on the thing, and I've just heard him fall. It's pitch black, by the way, in the cop, up the stairs.
Yeah.
So I was like, what are you on? And he goes, obviously swore, said whatever he said. Walk through, switch the light on, he's got this big slash across his head there, blood coming down. It was funny.
Yeah.
And then on the way there in the car, he's like, because he always used to have a coffee with him all the time, constantly. I'm sitting there, and obviously he's a legend, isn't he? I'm not going to say nothing to him. Because he used to whack you as he was talking to you, and he's got a coffee. So on the way there, I've got this big coffee patch all down my tracky bottom where that's been splashing me. Well, yeah, he's obviously an absolute legend, and he's helped bring that much money as well.
For people who don't know Warwick and what he done for that club, it's unbelievable, mate. And that's why I said to you about the person, because when I come across him, he was just like, I was expecting this big, you know, like Mourinho coach, you do this there, and he's just so humble.
And he's probably cold as well.
And he'd just go over and speak to someone and just give him a little snippets of information. But he had time for everybody. He was never too much, it was never, as coaches or the players, it was just like...
Or even just talking to someone, he used to talk to everyone.
And Glyn was the same as well.
Glyn was like... He was probably my biggest influence, like, because I was with him from 8 up until I was a YT. But he had a lot of clubs interested in him, which understandably. And he ended up going to Derby County at that... Sorry, he didn't, he went to Preston first as a YT coach. So I think he had a bit of... I think Lorraine Rogers was the chairwoman at the time. And he was always banging heads with her all the time because he was most probably trying to take Tranmere's academy to another level. Yeah. And he just had his hands tied behind his back really, so I think he got a little bit fed up with it, and that's when he went off, where he initially had the opportunity to go to bigger clubs, you know, in the past. Yeah. And maybe he left it a little bit too late for that, so he went to Preston and then he went on to Derby County.
I know you spoke about Glyn a lot and the detail in his sessions and just little snippets, and you go, that makes so perfect sense, but it's just brilliant, just
it's
that little idea.
The way he'd raise his voice at a certain time. At that time, I didn't understand anything like that, do you know what I mean? So, obviously thinking back now, being a coach, I'd be like, I can understand why he done that then. Because sometimes you'd like shout at not aggressive but you'd be quite scary in a way. And you'd be like, why has he just done that with me there? But now you realise what he was doing
and why he did it.
And why he did it.
Yeah, that's a big...
But that's what he was perfect at. He knew exactly what to say to you at the right time. It was just a knack that he had.
So you're breaking into the first team now. So just to go over it again, who's the manager now? Ronnie Moore. Ronnie Moore. So Ronnie brings you in to the first team setup. Yeah. What was your relationship like with him?
Well, it was cold really. I used to walk past him in the corridor. He didn't used to say hello to me. Stuff like that. I don't know why.
No reason.
I think because he's maybe a different generation to me. I think that's what maybe he experienced himself. So because I was a younger kid, he most sure wasn't bothered by me. Whereas Brian Little was maybe guided me a little bit more. Yeah, he used to just walk past me. He used to say, "Alright, Gaffer," nothing.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
There was no fallout or nothing. No. Even to this day, I think about because he did obviously when I established myself properly at Tranmere, he then. Could just give you a chance.
Yeah,
well, I mean, like properly into the first team.
Yeah. It was like, and he gave me the second time he came back, he gave me a 2-year deal as well, which I was like, it's quite shocked by, from the past experience. Yeah, because I went on loan because I didn't want to just sit there if I wasn't going to be involved with the first team. So I went on loan to Southport. I think I was 16, just turning 17, so I was still YT. Yeah. And Peter Davenport was the manager. So obviously I wasn't driving, I used to drive him with him and stuff, and he used to pick me up and I went in with him. And he had obviously a great career as well, so I picked up loads. He's a great fella, his training was unbelievable, he used to love training.
He played under some good managers, didn't he? One being Brian Clough.
Yeah, exactly, So like, because even going off subject a little bit, Gary Mills, who was the York manager when I was at York, he played under Brian Clough as well, so you could, when I seen him at a young age, Peter Davenport, and then Gary Mills later on in his career, you could tell they picked up a lot from him because they were quite similar. Yeah. Even the way they treated people, both of them were fantastic with me, which I never really experienced that in between the both of them, if you know what I mean, other than Les Parry maybe. But going back to obviously Ronnie Moore, then I was at Southport and I picked up a bit of an injury. And of being the type of lad I used to just try and carry on until I literally couldn't play or function. Yeah. So I remember missing a game on I think it was at Stalybridge with Southport on the tube. Yeah, it was Stalybridge because I'll never forget this moment. And so I used to train at Tranmere because Southport were part-time at that point. I think full-time now. But so I've gone in the next day and he goes, "This is Ronnie Moore," and I said, "Why didn't you play?" I said, "I was injured." And he goes, "Well, if you're fucking injured again, you'll get released." he didn't word it like that, but he
basically that
really aggressive towards me, like, and I was like, you know, so if I'm injured, I can't say I'm injured, sort of thing. You know what I mean? So from that point on, I was just like, it's just one of them. I don't think he's ever gonna like me, like, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what I do. But then, to be fair, I went back, just stayed with the youth team reserves. And then I made my debut at Yeovil then, because we had a bit of a depleted first team, and I got man of the match on the day.
Just let's go on that then. So, like you said, you got given your chance. They had a bit of depleted, they had injuries, so you've been given your big chance. Yeah. So for me, and we coach players, we both do, and I've been in around academies. How was it getting over the line, over the threshold, actually going onto the pitch? Because everyone can give you all these tools and skills and say, there we go, Dan, we're going to put you on the pitch. You know how to play that position. But then you've got their players, fans, other things, and it's all new. Emotions, it's your first game. So how did you deal with all that?
I must have dealt with it quite well, because it was sort of sprung on me the night before. Like, we were having a meal, you know, your pre-match meal. I always travelled with the squad, like, and he said I was basically gonna play. So I just obviously rang me dad straight away and said, because we were away at Yeovil, so it wasn't the most glamorous of debuts. Like, I was in my head, I was thinking Prenton Park debut. Do you know what I mean? So it was Yeovil, which obviously doesn't sound too good. But
But it's a start.
Yeah, it's a start.
It's a start.
And obviously, me Auntie Jane and Uncle Bob and my cousin Kelly, you know, they're Tranmere fans anyway, so they were going the game. But then my dad obviously jumped on last minute to come and watch me. And like you said, you basically thrust out there.
So there's another one, sorry for jumping in, but there's another one, all your family are coming as well, so there's another influence.
Pressure, But it's like, it's not only that, obviously I learned to deal with it. Say the fans giving me a load of abuse, for instance, even a Tranmere fan, and they're within the crowd, it's mostly hard for them as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there is always going to be a fan, like, should have been, you know, maybe just half-hearted, you know, call you whatever. But it's mostly pressure for them as well, actually watching me. I think talking to my dad about it, he was a nervous wreck, which I didn't know about at the time. But I was actually quite calm.
You were quite calm,
yeah. So to be fair, I had a really good game, and because I was of the mindset, if you played and done really well, then
stay in.
Yeah. And then that was it. I never played again until obviously coming back at a later date. So I was literally in. Everyone else, because at the time the right back was Robbie Stockdale, who he had a really good career, to be fair to him. But even at that age, I was like, I'm better than him. That's
how you got to think.
Yeah, so this is what I was saying to my dad and that. So I was like, I'm gonna go and speak to the manager about it, like, sort of thing. Yeah. But he was like, no, just leave, because I think he, from the conversations I had with him, say what I've just said, where he said, I'll release you, for instance, if you're injured. He was probably going, you know, just bide your time, and then maybe working around, sort of thing. But
so was there how did the game go, by the way? What was the score? Do you remember?
I think it was 0-0.
0-0. So clean sheet as a defender.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know where.
You said
I should know this, shouldn't I? But
no, because on the night you might have lost it all because of all your emotions that I was talking about. Now you deal with things.
I remember cramping up though. I cramped up after like 80 minutes.
Do you think you were well equipped though, with everything you've been given, all the tools to use?
Yeah, well, definitely. Yeah. Like I said, I wasn't nervous because I knew basically what I was capable of, and everything that it took for me to get to that point. I knew anything that got thrown at me on that day, I could deal with. So even just going back to being where we're from, we sort of, you know, we tend to meet things head on, like. So I wasn't phased in the slightest.
So you do all right. Is any of the players, the senior players, set into you like?
Yeah, they were great. A lot of the senior players, even say for instance, when
they knew of you anyway.
They knew of me anyway, and you know, they were very complimentary, which obviously as a young lad was great for me, and even the fans were fantastic with me at the end as well. So like I said, I just thought, you know, this is me now. I'm gonna get that run that I felt that because I always used to train 100%, and it was, I know with some managers you can't they do have favourites, that is football, but I always trained 100% where maybe people that he favoured didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
So it was obviously looking back now, that's the way it was, and you know, it's probably helped me now as a coach and even as a person, you know, how to deal with people and stuff like that. So yeah, it's all learning, okay.
So you've done that, you've had that game of you thinking I'm back in, I'm gonna get another chance, and then what happened then?
Well, basically I was just out the team again, so not even being on the bench though, like out the squad whatsoever.
Nothing said?
Nothing said. So, which us being coaches now, it's
I find it's
mind-boggling, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And because I was such a young, I was a young kid, you know what I mean? I was only, I think at that point I just turned 18, I think. 18, 19, around that age. So for me, I was like, you know, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether to approach him. Obviously, my dad's saying that,
don't rock the boat,
because I was still such a young lad, but I just felt like I was getting setback after setback after setback. So when to be fair, when I think about it now, when I got released by him, obviously, even when I went into the office, I was still in my head, I was thinking, I'm going to get another deal, you know, crack on again this season. And then obviously now being older and more wise, I should have, you know, seen the writing on the wall anyway, which I didn't really see coming.
So how was that though, with your emotions and everything? Because you come right through the academy. I know you're a big Tranmere fan as well, and then your family watched Tranmere, and you know, so you come to that point, and then it must have been a major setback.
Yeah, it was mad. It was mad. It was obviously massively upset, and I was like crying my eyes out to my dad on the phone, because he was the first person that I rang, and I think I then obviously spoke to Jade, who at the time, I know she's lucky to be my wife now, but she was my girlfriend. We've been together that long. But yeah, I was obviously mad. It was just like, I worked all those years and then it just stopped. So it was like, I for the first maybe week after it was just like, I was in shock. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know how to deal with it. And then obviously because TNS used to go back early for Europe and I'd only been there, I just went in training with them, sort of just like, you know, get back into the rhythm of being in football basically. So like take my head off it. But I didn't deal with it well, like, but I did and I didn't. Obviously I was really emotional, but I was straight away like, I'm gonna prove them wrong.
But for me though, a lot of people could have sunk there.
Yeah.
And then you've gone to TNS and you start training, but it's a whole different new environment, new league, new ball game, new players, you know. Really, Tranmere was probably a comfort zone because you were there so long. Exactly, you probably knew the tea lady, you probably knew the bus driver, you knew everybody.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
When you go in there now, you don't know anybody.
Exactly,
so what was that transition like to go there?
Well, it was obviously massive. Like you said, the standard obviously is not what Tranmere were at that point. So even though I was training at Tranmere, because some of the pros there were unbelievable, the standard was really high all the time. Where when I went to TNS, obviously the main team that I went into at TNS was a really talented team and they all wanted to do really well, but they maybe enjoyed little things where, say for instance, Tommy loves going out, doesn't he? Where at Tranmere I'd never seen that. So I was like, oh, this is completely different. So
or on a school night,
with yeah. But it's completely different to what I'm used to. So it took me a while to sort of to get my head around that and like how people, you know, it opened my mind up to that people are different and that some people might relax a little bit more, where I was constantly like sacrificing really to like get to where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Where like they may be more
and more driven.
Yeah, more driven.
Yeah. And that's because the culture that you come from to Tranmere and it's the CNS.
But even when I went there, even though maybe it was a different culture, I still then had that same mentality to get back to where I felt I deserve to be in a way. So
just from, because I know TNS obviously worked in the academy there as well, so I know the club's philosophy, they love to play, to play out, whereas, was that a difference, the way Tranmere played to go into TNS?
Yeah, massive.
Did you have to adapt?
It was most probably more fun for me. Like I really enjoyed it because Andy Cale was the coach at the time, he was
brilliant coach,
unbelievable, isn't he?
Yeah.
And and he wanted me literally just to get forward, so I was like, happy days, this is
a bit of this.
Yeah. So it was all based, he always had like an answer for everything. So obviously because TNS, their philosophy is playing out and, you know, all little interactions, triangles or whatever. Like, say for instance, they pressed us really high, he had an option for that, and then if they boxed that off, he'd have another option. So it was like, at the time, I didn't know I wanted to be a coach. It's like embedded in me now, sort of thing. I experienced that from him. So he was like, if that's boxed off, we do that. You know what I mean? He just had the answer for everything. I was like, I've never known.
So was Kalo the manager then?
He was the manager,
Andy Caelan.
Yeah.
For people who don't know Andy Caelan, he was with the FA and we watched him coach. He was unbelievable, wasn't
he?
Yeah. So straight away, we've got a little bit of pattern as you've gone into coaching with Warwick, Glyn, John McMahon, Garno, and now you've got Kalo as well. So that's a massive range of coaches.
I'm learning little things from everyone really. But my first encounter with Kalo was because when I was like that age, 15, where I was like with the first team, like you had trials for England basically. Yeah. And I was lucky enough to get through there was like 2 stages, and I got through the first one. You had to go away for a week in the first stage, and then you went into the second week. It wasn't like 1 week after the other, it was like months down the line. But I was like the only one from a centre of excellence who got through, and that's when Kalo was there at that point. So I don't know how he knew of me, but obviously because he's at TNS with our Tommy and Kenny and that, he approached me. So I was like, who's this fella? But obviously didn't know. And he's like, oh, you're like saying about our Tommy and stuff like that. So I was like, I don't even know who this fella is here. But it got called that second week, got called off because it was absolutely frozen the ground. It was like minus temperature. So they called it early. But they most probably had the team who they were going to pick, because they tended to pick from the main academies.
The bigger clubs.
Or I thought if I don't know what could have happened there as well. So I just thought it was like a trial period to get into this team. But yeah, that was my first encounter with him, and then obviously got to meet him again.
So you go into TNS, sort of like different environment, and you settled into the team, you straight in. How did the season go?
Yeah, we won the league in our first season, and we won, I forgot what the cup's, it's a different name to what it is now, but we won the cup as well. So obviously we got into Europe, we played in the second season, we played like Anderlecht. So
now you're in Europe, that's another different thing with TNS, because they compete in Europe. So.
And even, to be fair, at that time, the Welsh League's a lot better now as well, so much better. But there was still like Llanelli.
So the Welsh teams were still learning the ropes really, and we're meant to go into it and be the whipping boys.
Yeah, whereas now it's like...
It's different now, isn't it?
We're picking up results and stuff like that. But at that time, it was just like mainly free, like Neath, the Lee Trundle, players like that.
Did Trundle do any tricks on you?
No, not against me.
Not against you?
No, not against me. I remember he tried to... I was playing centre-back in this particular game, and he tried to mount me. But I knew he was coming, so I sort of cut his legs. And I basically told him, do that again, like, I'll chop you. Now, even now when I see him, because I don't know him, obviously, but he knows Andy Robbo, and
every time I've come across him, he's a good lad.
Yeah, he's a tough fella, and like I've seen on like a couple of nights out in Liverpool and stuff, and I'll just always remind him not to do that.
I always remember Trundle's tricks, and the lads who have been on my coaching badges with down at Swansea and stuff like that, they've all got boots with Trundle on and stuff like that. I was like, wow, that's still amazing, and he's a big name down there, you know what I mean?
And even Andy Robbo now, like talking about it, because he does little bits with the telly, and just obviously as a younger kid watching Swansea at that time, but looking at them now, what they actually done for the club, them too, it's unbelievable.
It was amazing, yeah.
So
just while we're on that, and we're talking about Trundle, who was the best ever player you come across?
Played with or against?
No, you played against, you come across where you thought,
you know what? It was most probably Lukaku, because when we played Anderlecht, he was only 16, I think, and Stevie Evo, obviously. Big, massive centre half, and he's scary fella, weren't he, back in the day?
Giraffe.
And he didn't like strong arm, like push him over, but Evo would just come through people like he wasn't even there. And he was only 16, he played 20 minutes and he scored 3 goals. I'm sure he scored a hat-trick. And he basically put his arm across him and he couldn't move, basically, and he like volleyed it in top corner, and you're like, he's only 16, like, you know what I mean? And he's doing it, like...
And no one knew
international, like, you know what I mean?
But did not anyone have any briefings on him before the game or anything? No one knew who he was?
No one knew who he was. So that's when, obviously, because Anderlecht obviously got into the stages and he was involved in that, that's when he got his move to Chelsea, where he went to. But because there was a lot of lads who were Liverpool sports in the team, and when Liverpool would link with him, and they were like, hope we get him, like, he's only 16, 17.
And he's that strong at that age.
Massive.
Yeah.
He's what he is now, that's what he was like.
Did he have anything different, like different touch, different the way he passed the ball or anything like that? Or the strike, like you said?
His strike was unbelievable, he dribbled a lot. Whereas now, you sort of tend to picture him as more of a target man and no linking up play. But he used to, in that game, because that's the only game obviously I experienced the game, he was pulling off a lot into... I was right back that game, he kept pulling off onto our touch. And dribbling, but he was dribbling a lot, like.
Yeah.
So, where now, when you watch him play, like, he doesn't really do that, you know what I mean? But that's just maybe what a manager or...
Well, just touch on that while we're on it. What was it like playing with your Tosh, with your bro?
Yeah, it was obviously brilliant. We had... You know what he's like, he's a great character and he loves a joke. And...
But I can imagine, I know you're both fiery on the pitch. Tosh is laid back, but when he's on the pitch, different. Yeah, he's a different animal, isn't he?
When we used to play centre half together, we used to most probably argue.
That's what I'm saying.
Not even if we weren't arguing, we would then be not moaning, but you know what I mean.
I can't see who's going to win that argument.
It's probably hard to not now, like, but yeah, it was because he. You know, he's another one. I think he was a bit of a waste of talent, to be honest with you. He definitely could have played higher. Like I said, he enjoyed the night out and he's been probably in a comfortable position, like getting a good wage, enjoying his nightlife, and then going back to the footy again. But he was obviously, I've watched him from a young age, so to then play with him and win something with him was great. But like, I'm his younger brother, aren't I? So I used to get a lot of grief off.
Was it for your threads as well and the changes?
Because I had the better hairline.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah. So you're at CNS now, you're chugging along, you just won trophies. Yeah. So where do you go from there?
Well, basically I had a bit of interest because we played the European games. There was a lot of scouts there, so it was Shrewsbury, Crewe and Tranmere at the time that were interested in me.
So Tranmere were having a look at you even though they'd released you?
Yeah, because...
They keep an eye on you?
Literally, when I got released by Ronnie Moore, he got sacked literally 2 days later.
Can we ask why he got sacked?
At that time, I think because they just
weren't performing.
So I've then gone back to the club straight away and gone, well, he's released me and you've sacked him basically 2 days later, so, you know, is there anything there sort of thing? But that's when John Barnes and Jason McAtee took over. So I was a little bit surprised when he didn't, because McAtee was one of those pros when I was first coming through, you know, at 15, 16. So I was like quite shocked because Chris Schuker and people like that, because I went to the Heswell, you know, friendly game between Heswell and Tranmere. Sort of like trying to talk to someone to like come in and, you know, train and maybe come back. So before I signed with TNS. And to be fair, Chris Schuker was brilliant. He's like trying to get me in, but I think because Ronnie Moore released me, they just had that opinion of me that I wasn't cut out for it, basically. So when I had interest straight away off Les then became the manager after John Barnes and Jason McAtee.
But you must obviously, because you're doing well at CNS, still think you can make the grade. Obviously.
I knew that straight away. I knew that's not being disrespectful. I didn't want to stay there for maybe what our Tommy done, you know, have a comfortable life. You know, win trophies all the time. I wanted to keep proving myself.
And it must be a big calling card, Tranmere, because obviously you spent all that time there. You know, it was ingrained in you, and you're a fan as well.
Yeah.
So is Les now the manager?
Not the manager. But after the first year at TNS, because I had a 2-year, I was under the impression if a league club came in, I could go because they got me for free, basically. Yeah. And there was like complications with my contract, which basically what they do, TNS, when you do your contract, it's literally you're sitting together and it's like a computer and you literally type it up together.
Yeah.
So I then go upstairs to get something to eat, sign the contract, because I didn't have an agent then at this point, because I was like, didn't want an agent, just signed the contract. And then obviously it came to the point where Les wants me to go back to Tranmere because he knew of me. And I was like, Tranmere interested, I'm gonna go now basically. And they're like, no you won't.
And you got this piece of paper.
Yeah. But I was like, well we agreed this, and then it was completely, obviously being really naive, being really young, I've just signed it instead of going over it, which obviously I've learned from now. I've just signed it. So then they've gone, no you can't, there's you. And I was like, that wasn't agreed in the first contract that we wrote up. So they've obviously altered it, you know, because it was only me. I didn't have a representative or anything like that, so I then had to wait another year, and then luckily enough...
So you waited another year?
Before I went back,
yeah. So you played another year with TNS. Was that a successful year as well?
We won a couple of trophies. I think we got pipped by Bangor on the last game. We only needed a draw. And we set up for a draw as well, which I thought was stupid because we were obviously the better team. Yeah. And they...
TNS, not the way TNS way, by the way, is it?
Which was, I think Mike Davis was the manager. He was a young manager, and I think maybe the pressure got to him a little bit because at the old Bangor ground they used to get a big crowd and stuff, so I think he just played a bit.
Must have been a fair few there on that day then.
It was about 2,000-3,000, yeah. It was crammed like, and then to be fair we still dominated the game, but they had one set piece and scored from it, so we got beat the last game of the season. Yeah.
So didn't you just win anything that year?
We won, I think we won the 2 cups.
2 cups?
Yeah, so we still won trophies, but everyone wants to win the league, don't they? So we got pipped on the last day.
So you finished TNS that season, and do you know you're going to Tranmere then?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Les is the manager.
Yeah.
And Les is obviously a good lad, know Les ourselves off the estate and that, you know.
Yeah, so he just rang back up again, which I didn't get in touch with him because I thought basically that was it. Yeah. So he got back in touch again, and then that's when I ended up going there then. So
did you have any other teams in for you because you had
Shrewsbury again? Yeah. I think because TNS are so close.
Yeah. They'd have you watched, obviously.
All the time, and so the second time it was only between them two. So I would have went anywhere basically just to prove myself and show that I could do it at that level. So. But obviously Tranmere. Yeah. So you go back to Tranmere, so you must be 10 foot tall then walking back in. To be fair, I don't know whether I've mentioned this before, I took a wage deduction from TNS to go back to Tranmere. Wow. So I think it was, because in the second year of my contract, because I hit like targets with TNS, win the league or that malarkey, it bumped up. Like a bonus, yeah. So I took like 150 quid deduction, and I wasn't on a lot anyway, so it took 150 quid off me wage to go back to Tranmere, just to basically prove that I could cut it at that level. But it was quite hard at first because, like you said, when I left Tranmere I was used to that standard, going to TNS and then going back into it. It was more like me fitness and stuff like that. It took me like a good month or two to get in transition, back up to speed with it, because Les's pre-seasons, gruesome, world renowned. I've heard of them. When I was there the first time, not a doddle, but you smash through it. Yeah. Second, that first time back, I struggled, to be fair. Like even with all the runs and some of the runs we've done, just like I didn't, because I was used to pre-season where you only have 3 weeks off and then you're back into the season again. It's like a 2-month break then before that season started. So most probably enjoyed my holidays a little bit too much and stuff like that. It's a struggle for the first couple of months, but then I sort of got into it. Is there a famous one that Les does up Movama? All of it, Chase. Is it? The Movama one, you start at the bottom, not even at the car park. It's the road before that leads up to the car park, which is like a gradual hill. So it's just like that's your warm up. Then you get the car park, have a stretch off, so you're already blowing, and then you run from the car park at the bottom of the mountain to the top. Wow. Hard graft, but all worth it for. When you complete it, you're like, wow, I've done that there. So Les was a physio, wasn't he? And then he went into transitioned into manager. So what was Les like as a manager? You know what, Jay? He was brilliant. He knew what he was good at, and he was obviously a great fella, good man manager, stuff like that. And he never coached or he said obviously he had his input on tactics.
He would have had a rough idea, wouldn't he? Because he's been around it all.
But he left it to the coaches then to put those, say we were working the day before the game, to work on those tactics. So,
who were the coaches then?
Kevin Summerfield, who, I don't know if he's still at Birmingham, but he used to be an ex-player, he was a great coach, and John McMahon, so they were two brilliant coaches.
And John you'd already knew.
Exactly, yeah. So Les left it to them, and then he was always there, but he, obviously on the match day, that's when he would mainly, come out of the shells, so to speak, and then...
So you're back at Tranmere, were you straight into the team?
No, I went, like I said, it took me a while to get used to it, and I went on loan to Fleetwood just for a month. Mickey Mellon was the manager at the time, and I think, to be fair, I think he spoke to Kenny McKenna, because Kenny McKenna rang me up saying, I've basically, not okayed it, but, he gave me a good review sort of thing.
Put the word in basically.
Yeah, basically. So I went there because I obviously wanted to play first team football, and they were top of the conference at the time, which was obviously a decent standard. So I thought it was a good step up from the Welsh League to then play there. But me and Vardy made our debut on this, when they signed him. Yeah. We made our debut on the same game, and he was a right winger at that time. Yeah. So he was me and him down the right, and basically how it ended there with Fleetwood is because they were going for promotion, putting loads of money into it, and his first choice, which is fine, he's very transparent with me, Mickey Mellon. He's like, he's my fully contracted player, so if anything goes tits up basically, then at least I've gone with my contracted team, so to speak. So I was like, yes, and I wanted to go back to Tranmere anyway, because I felt then I was ready to. You were just getting there, yeah. So I was like, not a problem, I think it cut it short by a week or so, because I just wanted to get back then, because I knew I wasn't going to play the next game, having a week's of training for nothing. So that's when I got back to Tranmere then, and obviously got back in the team. So you're back in the team. So what was the first time when you went back on the grass at Prenton Park? How did that feel? Well, basically I was going to make my debut against Rochdale. It wasn't Yeovil again? No, it wasn't Yeovil, no, but it was Rochdale at home. Yeah. And you wouldn't believe it, got called off because a part of the roof blew off the main stand. Yeah. So in my head then, I'm like, that's itching, really. No, I was thinking that's it. It's written in the stars. Because David Draven was the right back at the time, obviously another one who's had a good career. Yeah. And I was like, he's fit, next game, that's it. You know what I mean? That's my chance. But you stuck with you? So, but Les kept with me. So we played Bury the next week at Prenton Park again. We won 2-0. So I literally stayed in the team then, ever since that game. Brilliant. So how long did this last now? Did this period? This period, when I got in the team, was around about Christmas time, and then I literally played every game for 18 months, basically. So and was this a really good time for you? Yeah, I loved really it. Enjoying it, loving your football. I just felt like I was on top of the world, to be honest with you. And the way I was performing at that time, in my head again, I was thinking, I'm gonna be, maybe potentially get a move. But then obviously the situation at Tranmere changed, and then Ronnie Moore came back in. We then had a great season where we were top of the league for 7-8 months, and then somehow did make it into the playoffs. It was crazy, it was absolutely crazy that you didn't make the playoffs. I know, but at that point, that's when I got that longer term contract off him. So, because Tranmere were flying, I was like, great, I'll be able to live, get higher up with obviously the team that I want to do with. Yeah. So, obviously committed to that. Then it sort of didn't really go as well the second year, and at times I felt like I was getting made a bit of a scapegoat, to be honest with you. With the manager. Why is that though? Was just I don't know. Is that what you just personally felt? That's how I felt because of my past experience with him. Yeah. So even when we were flying, it's not as if I had, an amazing relationship with him. Were you speaking at this point? When I say speaking, it's just football. Is it a bit cold? It's cold from him, not me. Not you. So, say football things, like you're on the pitch and, you're talking then. Yeah. But away, in the corridor and all that, nothing. Never got pulled into the office, anything like that. Even my contract, I never spoke with him once about my contract, which which now I find really strange. But at that point, I didn't care as long as I was
You were playing for the club that you loved, yeah.
and getting what I felt I deserved at that time. But yeah, I felt like I was getting made a scapegoat, and it was quite funny because you like bringing loan players in, maybe to fill my position. But honestly, they kept getting injured like in the first game and that. So I'd literally just carry on playing and playing.
And do you think in your own head that you're playing well at this?
I was.
You was playing?
I
yeah.
was.
And I know you're your own biggest critic, so I know you were playing well.
Yeah.
So.
Like I said, I'm quite a consistent player.
But isn't that a bit crazy though? Because being a local lad coming through the system, you're playing for Tranmere, you know, and obviously the fans must love that.
Yeah.
And then you're playing well, you know you're playing well, so the fans must realise that as well. But you'd have all these things going against you.
Yeah, so it's like, in my head, I'm like, I literally don't know what's going on here. Do you know what I mean? Especially when he's bringing loan players in, I was like, literally, what's going on here? So that at one stage, obviously approached him why I'm not playing and that. So if that's the case, that's fine. Because I wasn't that type of person to sit there and just, because I had 2 years, so I could, you know, just ran it out if I wanted to. But I wanted to just carry on playing. But obviously he didn't want me to do that because I was still involved in the squad and stuff like that. But like I said, it was just, he kept getting injured and I just carried on playing. And even during those 2 years, I think I only missed like 4 games.
Do you know when you said them 18 months were going really well then, and then you never made the playoffs, was there a decline in the team then as well?
Yeah, it was the decline with the way the club was run, because when we were top of the league, Peter Johnson was still the chairman. So he was obviously looking to sell. He made everyone aware that he was looking to sell. But when that season, when we were top and we had a couple of injuries, he then didn't get anyone to replace the because our first 11 was unbelievable for that level.
But there wasn't much around. Yeah.
So when they got injured, it was like Jay Cassidy was scoring all the time. James Wallace, who was unbelievable, he got a bad injury, and the team obviously didn't perform as well as what we were doing. And because obviously Peter Johnson...
Was it a gradual decline, or where you didn't buy players got injured and it just...
Yeah, it was like over a couple of months where we wasn't like getting beat or anything. It was like, you know, where we were coming back winning, it was like a draw, maybe a narrow defeat, then we would pick up a win, then it would go, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a bit more inconsistent, and because he was looking to sell, which is understandable.
You're all aware of it, obviously.
Everyone, the fans, everyone knew about it. He's trying to sell for years.
Yeah.
But obviously he saved the club years and years ago. So, you know, you can understand what he was doing.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to put the outlay on players then to come in, you know, because it's obviously more money that he doesn't want to spend on. So I think we should have got over the line, whether that was playoffs or automatic.
I remember that, I remember talking to you about that around the time. I actually thought that you would, you know, I thought you...
Our first team, if everyone was fit, we would have at least got automatic, 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
Like I said, we had key players, and
so
that was it.
Did you go on holiday that season thinking, we've missed out, we should...
No. In my head, I was thinking...
We're going to go again?
Go again next year.
Yeah.
Because that... Like I say, most probably now being older, thinking back, and most probably go, you know, the players that they then signed, it was like, I shouldn't really thought that. But that was just the way I was, you know what I mean? I wanted to carry on kicking on. But from that point on, after that season, that's when Tranmere just plummeted. Like, it's not just the team. Was
it straight away at the start of the season, or was it over the season? Did they start to plummet, and did you get off?
Didn't start off well.
Didn't start off
on the first game. If you know, you can get beat on the first game. You can get beat in any game football, even if you perform well. But it's the manner in which you get beat. And it was 2-0. I think it was against Walsall away. Yeah, it was Walsall away, and you just thought, you know, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You still didn't think what happened would happen, but it was just like, you know, this is going to be...
It was a blow, though.
It was a little bit tougher than what it would have been last year.
Was the dressing room deflated?
I didn't really sense that.
Or did not many people really speak about it?
It was a different team, though, so it was like, you know, different players come in, and where we had... It's like I said before, it was a band of brothers. You know, we got, even away from footy, we'd all do stuff together. Yeah. It then changed to, like, you just go home after training, or... you know.
So you're going through this time now, and you're the local lad, and you've obviously come through the system, and you know the area, and you see people every day, and everyone's talking about Tranmere, and then it's going on a decline.
Yeah.
Did you feel that more being a local lad?
Oh, massively, yeah. I always tried not to let it affect me. I think the first season I didn't let it affect me, but when they got the second one into the conference, especially near the end, I thought it's really affected me, like. So like even when I used to go home after games with say with Jade, or he just used to be dead snappy, which I was anyway if I got beat, but it was just the pressure of like the amount of loan players we had. It was like I nearly had a few fights in training which I never would.
Is this because they didn't care as much as what you did?
Yeah, so like I seen that. It was like we had like over 70 loan players in 2 seasons. Wow. So it was like, how are you meant to build up a relationship? Not just with them on the pitch, but you know, off the pitch or all that, because I was obviously into that. So I nearly had a few fights, like you said, because they were just a loan player, they didn't give one. So when I seen them, obviously we weren't performing well, you sort of just bumped heads then.
Well, they must have knew you cared for the club when they looked at one of your tattoos, and you got a Johnny King one, haven't you?
No, I've got like it's like the motto for
the motto, yeah.
So I can't say it's like a Latin where his faith is light and strength. So I've got that tattooed on my side, and I don't think many people know about that either. You know,
I didn't know about it, so once.
I'm not one of those people where I'll say stuff to please the fans, or even like they used to sing your name, for instance, like because I was just a normal.
I've got one here. Danny Holmes, he is alright,
So they used to sing that, and because I was a normal lad, I used to just give like a thumbs up, you know, like that. Yeah. Where players now they're like, you know, clapping like that.
Yeah.
So because my cousin used to go to the game, she used to go to me, why don't you clap back to the fans? And I was just going, because then it's just a bit awkward, you know, I'm just a normal lad and they're singing my name. So in the obviously because I was still young, I was like still getting, you know, how to act with people, where I was just being myself all the time. Yeah. It's not like I was being fake or anything, you just, you know, that's what they maybe wanted a lot. So it was like interacting with them more, where I was just maybe a little bit awkward, just going, you know, going like that.
Which felt a bit like, I'm thinking of the next tackle, get the ball.
Exactly, so that's what I was interested in, and even, especially when it got bad as well at Tranmere, even like just going to shopping and people would stop you. I remember one time, because my dad used to be banging into the fans forums for some reason, where I used to I didn't.
You didn't look at that, yeah.
Well, because he then would tell me about some of the stuff, I was like, I don't know why you read it, you know what I mean? It was like one time after a game, like sometimes you just get a chippy or something like that, you know, because you've sacrificed all week eating well.
Yeah, and you can eat basically
whatever you want
after the game, yeah.
Especially when you've worked all week for it. So go to the chippy and you'd be hammering me by going into the chippy. When you'd be like... You know,
but the fans are in the mindset we're going down, so people don't care,
I can totally get people being maybe constructive with you, but when it like got personal, I didn't take it well, like, you know what I mean? It's like times when I got messaged on Twitter, and I didn't offer anyone out, but the way I worded it was like, if you think that about me, that's fine. Yeah. Come and say to me face, I'll meet you, whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's getting to you basically.
Yeah, it's getting to you. Where that fit.
Because you're only human at the end, and like I said, being a local lad, and you're feeling it, and then you're getting other influences now, aren't you, throwing at you?
And I was just a normal, it's just when Twitter started getting big as well, and I was just a normal lad as well, so, like, being where we're from, if someone spoke to you like that, you'd say, you'd talk to basically. So that's all I've done. I didn't do anything, I didn't go on my way. They obviously said something about me, so
So the dreaded day comes, so was it down to the final game or anything?
It was like the last 2 games, but I actually got injured. We trained on Pretton Park, and I twisted my ankle massively ballooned up, and we played Plymouth away, and that was like we had to win it basically. Yeah. And I remember, like, obviously watching Soccer Saturday, the results came and got beat 3-2, and I was watching it with Jade, and it actually went. I think Mark Palios walked down to the fans and all that. I was like, Jade made up. I'm not there now. Like, do you know what I mean? It was like, because the first time it was really tough. I was like, that second one, yeah, it would have went. Like,
is this the biggest low in your career?
Yeah.
Is that the biggest low?
Yeah, because it is embarrassing. Any football will tell you getting relegated. It's embarrassing.
It's hard to take.
Yeah. So the first one was like, that's never happening again. But then that happened straight away. So I was like, you know, you're still not fully recovered from the first one.
Yeah.
And then that one happens. So it's like, oh, my head was gone. Like at that point, you know what I mean? But
And did it get any easier?
It gets easier.
No, I mean, like, so, because you didn't stay at Tranmere next season, did you?
No, I left, yeah.
So, all I'm saying is it didn't get easy. So, you go in and you're thinking, right, get us straight back up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
That's what you're thinking.
So, I respect, because Ian Goodison had the testimonial, because he's been there for however long. And I spoke to Mark Palios in the corridor, like by the change rooms, because my ankle's blowing up, so I obviously couldn't play. So he's like, oh, we'll sort your deal out, you know, leave in a week or whatever. So I've gone, yes, sound. Because in my head, same again from that first one, I was like, kick on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get them back to where they should be. And then obviously Gary Bradman become the manager, and which is understandable. Did
you know Brabs? Because he was a TNS fan,
yeah,
through your talk.
So that first time when I used to go training with him, he was a player there.
Yeah.
So he would have knew of me, but obviously we didn't have maybe the relationship we already had before Tommy, for instance. But I think he just wanted a clean slate, so to speak. But because I still felt I performed really well, and I was on a certain wage at that point. I didn't expect to be on the same wage. I you know, it's understandable that the team didn't perform well. I would take a deduction. I was happy with that. But how much it got deducted was like, because I was still going to sign even though it got deducted that much.
Yeah.
But then when like I spoke to people about it, and I was like, nah, I don't deserve that. Like, and that's when.
I must have been tough that because
because they sent me a letter through the post.
Because it's not always about money, because you've already said there you took a deduction to go back there, and obviously.
I was going to do the same.
Yeah.
So I wasn't, because I was still playing for who I.
But there's a point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they sent the letter through the post, which I wasn't. I was obviously really angry about, because when you live, you know where I live, and you live 2 minutes away from the ground. So I was like, okay, that's a bit. But what I think now, because he wanted like a new team, I felt it was just like a token gesture offer, because I still perform well. The fans loved me.
Yeah.
You know, there's something there. So now if you go, that's your decision. So when I obviously spoke with, like, say Jade, my dad, my mum, stuff like that, I was like, I don't deserve that. I'm going to get off, basically.
I know lads who was working with at the time, and they were all gutted, and they were all like, what's going on, like? And I didn't know myself, and I knew it wouldn't have been an easy decision for you.
You know what I mean? It was heartbreaking, really.
Yeah.
But it was every decision I've made, I've never regretted it. So even that one, for instance, I knew I deserved better than what they were giving me.
Yeah.
So I was like, do one, basically. I'm gonna leave and go somewhere else.
There's offers on the table.
Yeah, it was at that point, because I had the house. This is what people don't realise. At the end of the day, you've got to pay for your mortgage, car, everything. Yeah. So at that point, it got to a stage. I had a few offers, to be fair, but because I then got labelled as a right back in the lower leagues, say a centre mid could fill in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can get two positions with one. So where maybe people maybe pictured me as a specialised right back then, they used to like take the mick with your wage and stuff like that. So with Newport, they offered me a brilliant wage, and then that's why I ended up going in. And obviously Teddy Butcher was the manager, he was an absolute legend. So I was like, oh, this is going to be brilliant playing under him.
So that's a bit of a transition though, because you're going right away from home now.
Yeah, might as well.
Your hometown club, you're heartbroken still, so you're going down there. So Newport, what was that like when you first got there?
Well, it's like Birkenhead, but 10 times worse.
I've actually been to Newport, mate, because it's round from where you coach for the Welsh FA. It's only round the corner.
It's literally round the corner, And but you know what was the best thing that I'm sure could have happened? Because it took me away from all the
Everything
negativity, you know
yeah.
what I mean? So even though I was living by myself, and it was like a prison cell, to be honest, just like one room, and I had a kitchen, toilet, and then that was it, one room. It was quite big for some reason, it's quite big to rent, so yeah, I was away from my family by myself, and you know, I got to meet a lot of lads who I'm really good mates with now, so I enjoyed my football again, which I hadn't had for a couple of seasons, so Terry Butcher was unbelievable. He was very unfortunate, to be fair, because like I said, his main team that he would have picked most probably would have been close to the playoffs, but we had that many injuries that by the time it was too late by that time.
You're a hindrance for these playoffs, aren't you?
Don't like me, really. But once he got sacked, and then all the team got back together. We made like a sort of late run to try and get in. We didn't quite make it, but yeah, he was unbelievable. Like before every game, he used to go out and you'd be like pumped up, because that's just the way he was as a captain, you know, as a player.
You see that the way when he played for England, and he was in the famous picture of him when he was in blood and all that.
But even like life stories that he used to tell, you know, like about his kids, and it was a story like before the season, because we were like a new team put together. He made everyone tell a little bit like a story about them, and he mentioned about his son being gay, and because Terry Butcher's like a masculine, you know, like
6 foot bruiser, centre half,
and around his head, it's like, I can't remember the story he actually told, but it was like, it was proper moving, like, you know what I mean? Like, bloody hell, then everyone really opened up then, and
everyone come, and it brought the group closer together,
yeah. And like, honestly, the camaraderie that we had within that team, it was maybe not as quite as close as that Tranmere team when we topped the league, but it was definitely a close second, and we like I said, we've made mates for life there as well.
So how long did you spend down there?
Just a season.
Just a season.
Yeah, because there was a couple of issues, like family issues, and I did want to get back home as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm a bit of a home bird, I will be honest about that. So they offered me another deal and tried to deduct it again. This is what clubs do. They try every season when they would try and knock you down to then agree the same one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I was like, I needed, for me to make it worthwhile, I needed just not much more, but wanted a little bit more than what I was previously on. So then obviously didn't agree to it. And then it was one of them that, like I said, it became about, which I didn't want it to become, it became about money. So then that's when I signed for Fylde on a non-contract basis, and then ended up going to York then.
But you went to Fylde for a bit, and who was the manager there? Chandler, yeah.
Yeah.
And what was it like there? It was only a brief spell, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on non-contract terms, but to be fair to Chal, I didn't particularly like the way he was he's a great coach, unbelievable coach.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes he took a little bit too much on with the club, like he used to cut the grass, you know, one of them, trying to do everything. And when I then decided to leave, because I was on non-contract, I would just give me 7 days notice in, and obviously he went to York. And he only lives in Ellesmere Port. I don't know if he still lives there now, but obviously being 15 minutes away, we had the training kit, you know, with the bag and all that, so I had to hand that in. So I say, listen, Charles, I'm going to York. Can I drop this off at yours? Saves me going all the way to Fylde. He goes, no, you've got to drop her off at Fylde before we release your registration. So I thought he was going to talk to me about something. So I've gone up there, yeah, Charlie, it's Shane. He goes, oh, nice one, see you later. So I've gone, you
is this for real?
Yeah, you for real? You made me travel all this way to bring a training kit to you? But that's just the way he was, you know what I mean? He was, like I said, he was a great coach, and you know, he has got potential to really kick on, but I think at that time he needed to, because if I'm being honest, I don't think most of the lads like playing for him. You know, it's just the way he was as a person.
Yeah.
So now, say for instance, when I'm coaching now, I always revert back to these characters like Ronnie Moore, maybe Challoner a little bit, where I feel like, you know, if I'm good with them on a personal level,
I get the best out of them.
and make them feel good, then naturally your football's gonna improve, and you're gonna be, for me to develop better players.
With people's skills, and it brings the best out of the person, doesn't it?
It's not just football, it's
in everyday life.
Yeah. So, you know, if you treat someone, they're gonna want to do whatever you want them to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not manipulating them. You're coming, like you said, you're coming together and you're becoming like a family in the unit.
It's not like you're manipulating, but if you're coaching, you've got a duty of care straight away.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, if you want to get the best out of someone, how's it best to get out of that person?
And that's hitting the person first.
Knowing them.
Yeah.
And speaking to them on a level where you'd speak yourself and have a big rapport and respect.
So even, say for instance, obviously didn't have a good relationship with Ronnie Moore, even if he was cold to me, if he still respected me where I felt he should have, then I wouldn't have had a problem with him whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, because he was that cold, and then like certain times I felt like maybe he didn't have me back. For instance, you know what I mean? He didn't have to talk to me. I would have knew from those actions then that he believed in me still, even without talking to me.
And could have given you an extra like 5% and a bit more in the belief.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and made you
instead of having
doubts. Yeah.
That was the only doubts I had at Tranmere. I knew I was more than good enough. The only doubts I had was, does he like me? That's it.
I think just as a coach, when we coach like me and you do, it's not just about coaching that person and thinking, oh, I can get him to turn, I can get him to do that, but it's actual people skills as well. And you want to speak to, some people are very timid, some people who are loud. You get all different characters and you've got to work with them, mate, and you've got to try and get the best and tweak every little character that you come across.
Exactly. Like I said, I wasn't the type that needed a pat on the back. I didn't need it. I just needed to know that they had faith in me, basically. That was it.
And that had to give you even that little bit more motivation,
Exactly, yeah.
So you've left Fylde and then you go to York.
Yeah.
Now, how did that come about? Did you just through the agents? Or
no, it was, I like I said, I didn't have an agent then.
No,
I had that experience. I was like, I don't want an agent, basically. So one of my good mates who I came through at Tranmere, he got released when he was like 13. Sean Newton, his name is. Top player, and he was with Gary Mills at Wrexham, and then he took him then to York. So he was like sort of had a close relationship with him.
Yeah.
And I just briefly got talking to him, and he goes, "What are you up to?" sort of thing. I said, "Just that file, looking to leave." And he goes, "Oh, I'll speak to the gaffer," and straight away I just got an offer off him straight away. So that's when I said to Charles, "Listen, there's 7 days notice, I'm going to York." So
you go to York, but you're still living at home?
Yeah, so I commuted every day.
So you commuted every day?
Which is obviously a good stretch, like. But,
is that when you started coming to, when I was working with Tranmere Academy, so you started doing, so it must have been hard, even though you loved the club, you've gone back in as well to coach and give something back, but you're travelling every day, commuting to York as well? Yeah,
exactly, it was like, sometimes, because Gary Mills used to travel in himself, he'd start training at 1. So sometimes I mightn't get back in time to then coach.
Yeah.
I was with Tony at the time, and I mightn't get back in time to coach with him, so obviously I was gutted about that. But even with the coaching side of it, I was like, even though I've got on great with all the coaches and all that, I still didn't want to do it in a way, but I knew I had to do it because that's the only way I was going to get experience. Because I felt...
And no better place to start.
Exactly, yeah. Sure. So I was like, I thought, it's not that he had one over on me. For instance, Mark Palios, which I don't think he did, but he was just like going back to the club, which I felt didn't look after me when I felt like I needed to be looked after, you know what I mean? So, but like I said, I did love the coaching there. It was brilliant for the kids.
But Sammy still had a good academy then, didn't it? And there were some really good people there, the ex-players, yourself, and Gaz Roberts, top bloke, you know. So it had a good, and it had coaches who've been there for years as well, and it had a really good feel.
Yeah.
And obviously, but it must have been hard with York because it does take up a lot of your time. Academy, you know, it's not just about coaching, you're planning, you're speaking to parents daily, you know, there's loads more that goes into it.
Yeah, definitely,
So you go up to York and you'd have your first season, how did that go?
Well, I joined like October time, November time, so from then to the end of the season, that was the only period that I was there. So it was like I've been there for years. We had such a good team. Because when I went there, they were struggling massively, but I didn't care because I just wanted to get out of Fylde basically. Yeah. So I would have went anywhere just to enjoy myself because that's all I think that it's cliche like, but every footballer all they do when they're in football is just to enjoy it. You know, play like they was when they were a kid, for instance. But
if you're in the best environment you think you're in, you're going to get the best out of you.
Exactly, yeah. So when I went there, it was like John Parker, who had a brilliant career, Sean Newton, who we knew really well. And then there was like a lot of new signings at that time, but they were miles off it. They were in the relegation zone, but like quite a big point deduction. But because we had such a good team, then I seen all these players that were signing, I was like, you know, if I go there as well, we're going to have a really good team. And we did, we really kicked on. So it came to the last game of the season, and we played Forest Green, who were in the conference at the time. They had a really good team. And we only needed a draw. And we were winning 2-1. I think they scored like... No, sorry, it was 2-1 to them. We scored to draw. And you could tell it was just an end of the season game for them. I think they were already promoted. Yeah. So it was just like, you know, we were just sitting there shuffling. They wasn't really...
No one taking a risk.
Yeah. So the whistle's gone, we're all celebrating straight away because the team... You could tell by the fans' reaction, the team who... I think the only one that could have stopped us, obviously, staying, which happened, they were there drawing, and he literally scored last kick of the game.
Oof.
So it was like...
From a high.
Yeah. So it was like, you know, when City scored and United were all buzzing. It was similar to that. So we found out and I'm like, can't believe it, yeah. But then we were still in the FA Trophy final, so we obviously won that at Wembley, but which was even though we got relegated, it was... When aside, it was a massive positive all the way through.
So you got to Wembley, didn't you?
Yeah, we won the FA Trophy.
So what was it like playing at Wembley?
Unbelievable. It's like, it's every kid's dream, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just saying that, it is every kid's dream. And just how big the state... Because loads of lads go, how big's the pitch? It's just exactly the same. But the stand...
Yeah, but it's in a bigger arena. Huge. Yeah.
So it makes the pitch feel obviously bigger. So, because Gary Mills was... He's quite a laid-back manager in a good way, where you like, you know, have a few days off, you just had a big season, where Macclesfield were training every day leading up to this final. I think there was like a 3-week break before the end of the season to the final, and we had like 10 days off and then we started training. So after 75 minutes I cramped up, and literally I had cramp. I got subbed off, I couldn't move.
Get rid of it.
So even when the final whistle's gone, I'm still stuck in the dugout like that. And then manage, you know, get on and celebrate. Yeah. But I think the whole experience, it does just saps the life out of you, like the national anthem, like I said, the size of the stadium and the occasion as well. Yeah. So, but it was a great experience, and as long as we won, it doesn't really matter.
What were the celebrations like after that?
You know what, the bit subdued, to be honest. Really? It's like, I think because...
Just massive game at Wembley, you won a trophy.
I think because the end of the season, the way it ended, I think everyone, maybe more mentally, they just wanted to get away and, you know, have a break and stuff like that. So, we just travelled down, that was it.
So what happened then after York? Was there anything on the table?
I was going to, like I said, I was going to sign back at York, and because they then went down a league, they obviously were offering less wages. So, because I was commuting, I was like, it's definitely not worth it.
It's not,
So at this stage then, I was like, saying to Jade, listen, I'm going to jack it in. But just can't be asked with this all the time.
Just for people who are getting in football now, with like the youngsters we've got, and people sometimes don't realise how much travelling is part of a footballer's life.
Ridiculous.
And if you're travelling and commuting every day, you've got to take into account that if I'm spending 3 hours in the car there, 3 hours in the car back, that's 6 hours a day. Yeah. Put that into a week, put that into a month, put that into a year. You know, it is.
And I've been training hours as well, and games. Even like especially in the conference, some of those away games on a Tuesday night, you'd be going to like Dover on a Tuesday night, and you're like, how's that?
For the pop over and filled in boots in France. And a cheap
like, why are they putting that on a Tuesday night? You know, York is obviously quite
don't they look at the fixtures? Not just the players, what about the fans who are paying as
well?
Yeah,
how do you expect the fans to get down now? It's stupid.
So you leave there, and I know you went to Bangor then, didn't you?
Yeah. So that's when basically EPD started then. Because I tried to start it previously when I was at Tranmere, but then obviously because I was sacrificing a lot, that was put to one side sort of thing. So I was just listening, not going to play. So I was saying to Jay, I'm just going to jack it in, you know, try and get a job and go into the coaching route then. So for 2 weeks it was in the end that was it.
That's
basically.
what you want to do.
So then I spoke to people again who were close to me, and it was like, you know, it should be a waste just to not play footy again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
well, everyone says, I know it's a cliche, but all the old cliches in football, they're there for a reason.
Exactly, yeah.
Say play as long as you can.
Yeah. So because since that point, since I've started the EPD and been playing as well, it's been probably the happiest I've ever been.
Yeah.
So I'll then say that now. So even when I'm like 50 or 40 or whatever, I still think I'm still going to be playing as much as I can. But when at that point I was like, I'm never playing footy ever again.
And got to that point?
Yeah, got to that point, yeah. So I was like, in my head, I was wondering, like you see with young lads now, especially in the league, do you accept a terrible wage just to say that they play footy?
Yeah.
Where I wasn't bothered.
No.
I did, you know, I thought I was more than just a footy player. I thought I was, you know, a decent lad and stuff like that, which I like to think I am, but I didn't have to be labelled as a footy player. It wasn't who I like. Not just that's all I'm doing as. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, I'm not bothered. I'll just jack it in, and you know.
I'll go and give something back. I'll give the coach
elsewhere. Yeah, that I will then feel happy and fulfilled.
So what was your first vision with the league? What was your first thinking with it?
It was just more the one-to-ones.
Did you think it'd get to where it is now?
Definitely not this quick. I knew we would have.
Yeah.
But how quick? Like, it feels like I've been doing it all my life. Where when I started just doing the one-to-ones, it was just great just to be helping someone out and, you know, just interacting with people and working on things. So I was doing at Tranmere in the team one, it was a little bit different, and you had like a block to work off.
But when you work one-to-one, it's different because you're speaking for an hour as well.
Exactly, yeah.
So you're just not just coaching, you're actually speaking to someone as well.
Like when I was a player, socially, I wasn't a cold person. I was just rubbish at conversation.
Yeah,
everyday life.
You're not giving them skills.
No, because all I was bothered about was footy. So when I used to go home, I used to think about footy. I can't eat that. I'm going to rest here to save me energy.
Yeah.
So on my head, all I was thinking about was footy, where when I went into coaching one-to-one and stuff like that, it was more, what did you get up to today? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I feel like, and even meeting different people from different backgrounds, where everyone was in the same sort of background. All I knew was maybe the Woodchurch and all the lads I played with at Tranmere, for instance, where I was meeting business people. And
I remember when you were playing for Tranmere, you never give much away, like you never say, but
I'd always keep myself to myself, you know what I mean? Yeah, I was that type.
Like, always approachable, like, but never needed, like, you never open up about what was going on or not like that.
Honestly, there was nothing else going on. That's all I was doing. All I was doing was training, eating, getting off to train again, play a game. That's all I done. That was it. So I didn't really have, like, now I'll go out and enjoy myself, and I didn't really have a social life, to be honest. Maybe the odd, like, I'll go and watch the Woody pub.
Yeah.
And then maybe go and have a game of pool in the pub after. That was it. And then start the week again.
So you're at Bangor, and you've started EPD. EPD takes off, doesn't it? It's gone massive, like, obviously. And I'm not just saying that because we worked it. It's gone really big.
Yeah.
It's gone from the one-to-ones to group sessions all the way through to having squads. Where we take them into academies now. Yeah. And we've got some great people working for us and got some great kids.
Yeah.
And it's only the standard every year has only got better.
Yeah.
The parents all buy in, everything's great. So you're flying, what happened at Bangor then?
Well, basically, I was going to sign back at York, quite funnily enough, because Gary Mills was still the manager there. And then someone else came in called, I forgot his name now, Martin, I think it could be Martin Tyler, it's not the commentator, but it was Martin something. He used to be an ex-player, and because obviously John Parkin was still there, Sean Newton, he was after the right back. My contract was coming to an end at Bangor.
So they're aware of that?
Yeah, they were like, just sign, because you should have been here anyway, just sign it back. So I've agreed like a 2-year deal then, because I was like, I want a bigger commitment from you, if I'm going to come, all that. But then the fella who then became the chief executive, then said, well, if he was on this in the first place, why is he then getting like a 2-year and all that? So it sort of fell. So I've gone there once through Grey Effin, gone home. I think it was like 2-3 days later, I've gone back up now to do a medical. So it's all, if I'm doing a medical, then it's serious, like. So I've got there, he's gone, just hang on a minute, sort of thing, in your car, like, coming in a minute. So I was like, alright, that's a bit strange, because Sean Newton travelled in with me, because he said, I'm not doing it, come with you, to keep you, be busy with you on the journey. And then they were basically saying, we'll have to delay it, sort of thing. So that was it then. I didn't hear anything from them. Wow. So that's when I ended up signing for Connah's Quay then.
Alright then, Dan, so you moved to Connah's Quay, yeah? Was the Jock the manager straight away?
Yeah, he was, yeah. He was there, I think he's been there for a couple of years before I've then signed. So there's a few lads that I've known, obviously Wildy's there, Danny Allison, Cal Morris, so I've touched base with them to gauge what everything's like, and they obviously gave me the thumbs up. So I still didn't think, when you first meet Jock, he's an unbelievable fella. Like, people maybe put him in a bit of a box and think, he does like to shout and
I seen him at Airbus, and then I was like, wow. We've seen him on the line and that, and then I seen your Tommy when he was still in. Tommy went, he's sound, he's fantastic.
Honestly,
he's really good.
Like that's just the way he is on a game day, and it's like footballers. Like today, everyone pitches them what they see on social media, where it's
and they don't know the person.
And he's the top fella, and he's a great manager, and I think he's got a massive future in the game. So ever since I think this is my third season now, and I've loved every minute of it.
Well, you've done really well at Connah's Quay, haven't you? And as a group of players come together to take on TNS, because obviously you were at TNS. So taking on TNS is a massive challenge as it is, because they are a really good club, as we know. But obviously taking them on, and then what you've just done is some achievement, I think. And it goes under the radar a little bit, because everyone thinks like, oh, it's what should be happening now, because you're up there challenging with them.
Exactly. I think what it's came down to is just the way he is as a person, how he's getting the best out of everyone, because TNS's budget is far greater overall than what ours is. So he's obviously just got the best out of us, and even we're transitioning into everyone being full-time. Now it's still like a bit part-time, and then it's like a full-time group of players.
But like you said before as well, where you said about if you see him like screaming and shouting on the line, or people don't see the real person. I've heard through you and through other people as well that he's an amazing coach. Yeah, he's a really good coach.
The amount of detail that he gives you, even on a team, for instance. But I think obviously we're more renowned for our set pieces, how good we are at them, basically. Yeah. And that's down to him. No other players. And I think even on the FAW clauses, when they have a set piece subject, he's the person.
It comes up, Jock.
Exactly. But he's the one who then gives the when you're on Zoom or whatever.
I've got to be honest, we've tried pinching a few buckle, going over him like I'm
honestly, I think there's one that he done, and I don't know whether they got it from him. I don't know if they did. But Brucey Dorman did it, when he ran away to fake it, to play down the line, and he's ran back and he's whipped it in, he's had it in. Yeah. We done that, and we were like, Brucey. I don't know if he's he's robbed it off someone or whatever, but that's his thing. And but to be fair, we even play some. He's brilliant at putting pressure on the other team. So it doesn't matter whether you play 20 passes or there's one. He knows what area that ball's going into. We're a very effective team. That's down to.
Well, that's crazy though, isn't it? Because there's two conflicting styles there.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
And even now, two conflicting managers, because Scotty's like laid back, we know Scotty well, and then the Jockey's full on. So, it's but both winners in their own rights. Do you know what I mean? So, it's really it's gonna end with amazing runnings, battles, and whatever, isn't it? So that'll go on for.
I think when people play against us, it brings out another side of, say, Scotty, for instance. He's most probably very laid back against other teams, but like say the most probably they shout a little bit more when he play against us, because Wildy gets up, doesn't he, and they try and get around him and stuff like that. So I think they're a little bit louder, which is understandable because you may have to be like that, but yeah, everyone seems to be a little bit louder when he does. I think they have to.
Yeah, but credit to him and credit to yourselves and what you've achieved and what you've done, and you know, just moving on from that, maybe just because we're coming to the end of the show, what do you see in the future for Danny Holmes as player, coach?
Well, I want to play as long as I can, so...
Because we just touched on that.
Yeah, definitely. So, as long as my body holds up, then I want to play the highest.
As long as you can.
In Europe, stuff like that. So, but when, obviously, the time does... I think your body does tell you, and maybe when someone's beating you that normally wouldn't beat you and stuff like that, then I most probably decide to... Because I don't want to just coast along and pick money up and be on the bench and stuff like that. I want to play. So if I'm not doing that, then I'll most probably call it a day. But I obviously see myself being a manager now, so I want to...
I can see that, I've got to be honest with you. I can see that in the way you go about things and the person that you are as well. So
yeah, it's one
that'll
of those.
be an interesting journey to follow
definitely. I think the first thing for me is to like get on my A licence now and kick on from there really and gain more experience. But I feel like in a short space of time I've gained loads of experience, and just
through all the managers you've played for, that's also, a big massive umbrella of people and things that you can take away. Definitely, you know, that's massive. Yeah. Right, so thanks very much, mate.
No worries, been a pleasure, mate.
Thanks very much. It's been mad talking to you like this instead of where we were. I know, enjoyed that, really enjoyed it, and I hope everyone back who watches the show will enjoy it as well. And for our first one up, Whittle Footy Talk, if you've got any comments or anything you need to say, or for future episodes you want to get guests on, anything like that, please get in touch with us, and we'll see you in the future. Take care. Thanks, Dan.
No worries, mate.
All the best, mate.
Ta, mate.